Hey guys, Kyle from Ripstop by the Roll. What we're going to be doing today is taking you through the step-by-step process of making your first stuff sack. So when people ask me where they should start with DIY, I always say a stuff sack. It's where I started. It's where I recommend you start. It's a great place to get your feet wet, and then also it can serve as a springboard into more creative, more complex projects down the road. So what we're going to try to do is give you the tools that you need to make that happen and show you the step-by-step process. So let's get started. All right, so now we're down at the sewing machine, and what we're going to do is look at the steps to make first a single-ended stuff sack. So I'm going to show you how to do two different things in this video, the first of which is going to be a single-ended stuff sack, and then the second is going to be a double-ended stuff sack, which will use some of the points that we cover on the single-ended, but we're going to start with the single-ended. So if you're going off of the fabric from one of our DIY kits, you're going to be given 18 by 30 inch blanks, but of course you could be ordering cut yardage and cutting it to whatever you want. I'm just giving you a recommendation here for a single-ended stuff sack, something that is, I would say, a medium size sack. I'm going with a 10 by 26. But again, that can be anything that you want, and I would recommend just a series of trial and error on that just to get exactly those dimensions pinned down. So we'll go ahead and start. I've already cut this to, like I said, 10 by 26. And to make the stuff sack, what you're going to want to do for the single-ended, it's always going to be a rectangle for the single-ended, because what we're going to do is fold it over lengthwise and then hem up the sides. Okay? And then we'll come back and finish with a channel. So that's an overview. But what you do want to make sure of is that if there is any difference in the two sides of the fabric, so side one, side two, you do want to make sure that what you're doing for the hems, when you're doing the hems, that you have the inside of the bag out, because what we're going to do is fold these over like that with a roll hem, and then turn the bag inside out. So when you're sewing here, you want you basically want it to be inside out. So let's go ahead and do that. So like I said, fold it over lengthwise, just like that. Make sure it's squared up. I measured this out beforehand. And then we're going to go down to the machine. So I'm working with an industrial machine. So it has a knee bar, so I don't have to move my hands, which is really nice. I don't have to move my hands to raise the presser foot, I should say. Not a lot different. If you're working with a home machine, you will just take your right hand and raise the presser foot like that, and then put the fabric in. Just wanted to point that out. So what we're going to do is grab the two pieces of fabric, fold over once, I would say something like 1/4 of an inch to maybe 3/8 of an inch, and then fold over again, okay? So that you get one fold, two fold, with the two ply of fabric. So watch that again. So we've got these together, we've got our corners squared up there. We're gonna fold over once, and then fold over twice. And you want to, I would recommend this width on the roll hem to be, like I said, this is about 1/2 inch. So that's a good recommendation. And then we're going to get it centered underneath the presser foot, and we are ready to sew. Here we go. So what I would recommend, I'm going to turn off all the fancy options and whatnot that come with the industrial machine and do it just like I would if I were operating on a home machine. What you'll want to do is back tack a little bit. So I would recommend 3 or 4 stitches and then reversing and then coming back. So it just gives you a little lock stitch there. Like that. Home machine, this is just like it would be on a home machine, pressing the reverse button. Okay, now that you've back tacked, now you're ready to go with the hem all the way down. So pay attention to the way that I'm keeping the fabric flat. So two things you want to pay attention to. Keeping the fabric flat as you feed it through. That's the most important thing, I would say. is paying attention to how you're feeding the fabric through the machine, because that's going to really have a lot to do with the quality of the end product that you get. You want to keep everything flat, and then also the second thing is that you want to mind that this width of the roll, so like I was saying, you want this to be about a ½ inch, maybe a hair narrower. You want to make sure that that is staying constant down the hem. You're not going to see this one anyways because we're going to turn the bag inside out, so not a huge deal, but just good practice. So here we go. If you want to, you can go back around. I actually like to do it like this. It's just, you know, kind of a way that, that I've learned how to do it and works for me. It may not work for you, but just a suggestion. You can go back around the back side of the material where the material is coming out and give that a little tug, and that can be used to keep things straight. Okay, and I'm not going to show you the entire thing, but essentially you're going to go all the way down and then finish with a lock step, or lock stitch I should say, at the bottom here. So let's do that on both sides, and then we'll come back and talk about doing the channel at the top where the drawstring goes through. Okay, so if you want to make a double-ended version of the stuff sack, it's pretty simple. There aren't any other skills that are involved. It's just a difference in how you cut the blank for the fabric, and then a couple little things. So I'm going to show you that right now. If you're doing a double-ended version, what you're going to want to do is start with a square blank, and then we're going to fold it over and then only hem up one side like that. Okay, 1, 2. So that's the roll hem that we showed on the single-ended. You were doing it on, you were starting with a rectangle and folding over lengthwise and then sewing up both sides. Here we're starting with a square, folding over, and then hemming up one side, just this side here. Then the only other difference is you're doing 2 channels, one on the top and one on the bottom. No other differences. All right, so now we're back and we've hemmed each side. So I showed you how to do the roll hem on one side. All we've done is do that all the way down on the left side and then come back and do the exact same thing on the right side. So remember I said that when you're doing the hems, the bag is inside out. So now we just need to flip that right side out. So reach in, pull it out, fluff it up a little bit. Just like that. All right, so now this is the outside of the stuff sack, so how it finishes, the side that you're going to see when in the finished product. What I would suggest, first of all, is getting one of these little guys. You can get them from any fabric store. They're pretty cheap, little nipper things. Just good for clipping off little pieces of fray and whatnot that are going to aggravate you as you do the channel. So I'm just going to do that right now. That's good. Yep. And that's nice. And brush that on the floor. Set your nippers aside. All right, so what we're going to be doing here is the channel. So that's what the drawstring goes through. The hole that you, the tunnel, whatever you want to call it, that the draw cord runs through. And there are a couple different ways to do this, but I'm going to show you The way that does it all in one step. So instead of making the channel and then trying to fish this thing through and using a wire and all that stuff, we're going to do everything in one step where we turn the channel and put the draw cord in at the same time. So don't worry if on your first couple tries at this it doesn't come out so great. Again, if you're getting one of the kits, the DIY kits, you have multiple chances at it because we include several different blanks. So don't get discouraged if you can't do it on the first try. I want to stress that because it took me probably half a dozen tries before I got anything that was even remotely nice to look at. So it'll be functional, but maybe not the nicest to look at. So the point is, don't get discouraged. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab sort of the middle of the draw cord, and then we're going to find the hem on one side, doesn't matter which side. While you're holding the draw cord and the fabric, you're going to turn down about, I would say, just so that it's not so difficult and so tight to work with, something like 3/4 of an inch would be good, right? So you can see how I'll do that again. You find the side, one side hem, you have the cord in your hand, you fold over about 3/4 of an inch, maybe half an inch. And then you put the cord right down beside the edge, okay? So you can see what we got going on right now. You're lining the cord up with the edge of the first fold down, right? Then we're gonna come to the machine. We're gonna lift the presser foot. And before we do that, we're gonna turn one last time. So that's it's the same thing, same process as a roll hem. It's just maybe a little bit wider. Okay, so now what we have going on is we have the draw cord all the way to the right, so all the way to the top, as if you're relative to the bag, all the way to the top. Right now it's all the way to the right, so we're going to be stitching on the left side, and the cord is out of the way on the right side. So one more time, starting from the beginning. Have the cord in one hand, somewhat in the middle, fold down half inch, put the cord down on the left side, and then fold again. Be careful to keep the stitch lines lined up, and that'll make everything feed through nicely. Take your time and really concentrate on feeding everything through. I can't stress that enough. Feeding everything through straight and flat. Just getting everything situated here. So one thing for aesthetics, keep in mind that now that we're right side out, everything that you do, every stitch that you put down is going to be shown in the finished product. So, again, I wouldn't be going for beauty pageant on the first one because, unless you're some type of, wizard, it's probably not going to look great on the first one. It's probably going to take you a couple times. So don't worry if it doesn't, but just so that you know, what you want to be doing is, in addition to running it through flat, you want to make sure that you want to try your best to keep this width of the fold, keep that constant, and then kind of pick a point of reference on the presser foot and keep that constant and try to peg that down. Use it as a guide as you feed through, because you want this width to stay constant and your stitch line to stay straight so that the end product looks good. Okay, so I think we are pretty much in position here. I'm gonna come up a little bit, flip forward. I guess I should tell you where you're looking to start. The draw cord in the end is gonna come out, both ends of it are gonna come out right here where this roll hem is. So in this stitch around the perimeter, you're looking to leave a little gap there for that to come out. So I'm kind of starting this, we're gonna start this stitch a little bit just to the far side, or I guess the near side of this flap here. And I think we're pretty much good. We're gonna put down some stitches. And then, just like we did on the roll hem before, we're gonna go back, lock stitch, and now we're ready to roll. Just kind of work it. Again, take your time. You might have to pull the draw cord through. Make sure that you're keeping it to the right side of the fold, and then as you go, make sure that you're checking the fold for the channel width is staying pretty much constant. Run a little bit and then adjust. Run a little bit and then adjust. That's kind of the process here. I'll just go ahead and take you through doing the entire thing. Still paying attention to keeping it flat. And keeping the draw cord to the right side. So a little bit more cumbersome to try to put the draw cord in at the same time, especially when you're first starting, but it's an all-in-one step thing, and you're going to get a better looking finished product, in my opinion. All right, things are starting to come together here, and now we're back around to where we're started. So you can kind of see what I was saying now, that the two ends of the draw cord are going to exit right here on the hem, the roll hem where you started. So to finish this, you want to make sure, one mistake you can make is not keeping track of this piece of draw cord here. It can kind of like get loosey over here, and then you stitch up. You're like, oh, well, good, I'm almost finished, great, hooray. And then you realize that you stitched over the cord. That's not good. That's not going to be great. So you want to make sure you push that up in as you finish, so that you miss it with the final stitches. Just like we did on the start, right up to the edge of the hem, then we're going to lock stitch 3 or 4, come back, and done. Now I'm using an industrial machine that has an automatic cutter, but what you would do with a home machine is just lift the presser foot, pull it out, and then cut those two. All right, and we'll be right back. All right, so that does it for our single-ended stuff sack project. We've also shown you how to do a double-ended version if you so choose, and hopefully you've gotten a glimpse into the steps that are involved, and now you have the confidence to go off and try this for yourself as a DIY project. If you want to see more of these instructional videos on DIY stuff and DIY projects, please subscribe to us on YouTube, and then also like us on Facebook. Thanks for watching, guys. See you later.